The transport ship landed on the frozen moon of Kellis 7 with a loud hiss. Cold air rushed inside as the doors opened. Una Park stood up from her seat and grabbed her small bag. She looked out at the gray sky and endless ice. This was her new home. She was not supposed to be here. 3 weeks ago, she was studying tiny organisms on Earth's orbital station. It was quiet work. Safe work. Then the Galactic Empire sent her a message. They needed a new caretaker for Facility 9. She had no choice. Humans were new to the galaxy, and when the Empire asked, humans said yes. A floating robot met her at the landing pad. It spoke in a flat voice. "Welcome to Facility 9. You are caretaker 848. Please follow." Una walked behind the robot through long metal hallways. The walls were gray. The lights were dim. Everything felt cold and empty. She passed many locked doors with strange warning signs. Some had claw marks on them. What happened to Caretaker 847? Una asked. Caretaker 847 requested emergency removal after 6 days, the robot said. Caretaker 846 did not survive long enough to make such a request. Una stopped walking. Did not survive? The robot turned around. This facility houses 500 cubs from the most dangerous predator species in the galaxy. They are children of conquered warlords, executed criminals, and destroyed empires. The Empire keeps them here as future weapons. Many caretakers have failed. Most do not last 1 week. Una felt her heart beat faster, but she kept her face calm. She had learned that showing fear never helped anything. Why do they keep sending new caretakers? The cubs require supervision. They cannot be left alone. But they reject all authority. They attack those who try to control them. They ignore those who try to be kind. They hunt those who show fear. The robot paused. You are human. Your species is considered weak by galactic standards. The Empire believes this assignment will test human usefulness. They think I will fail. Una understood. They think I will die. The robot led her to a small room with a bed, a desk, and a window that looked out at the ice. Your quarters. The main facility is through the door at the end of the hall. Feeding time is in 2 hours. Do you have questions? Una had many questions, but she only asked one. Do the cubs have names? The robot seemed confused by this. They have designations. Subject numbers. Names are not required for assets. After the robot left, Una sat on her bed for a long time. She thought about her life back on Earth. She thought about her mother, who raised her alone after her father died. Her mother worked 3 jobs. She was always tired. But every night, no matter how late, she sat with Una and asked about her day. Children need to know someone cares, her mother always said. Even when everything else is hard. Una opened her bag and took out a small container of rice and vegetables. She had brought food from the station. Real food, not the nutrition paste that facilities like this served. She was hungry, but she did not eat yet. Instead, she walked to the main facility. The common area was huge. It was built like a warehouse with high ceilings and metal floors. There were separate sections with different environments. Some areas were hot. Some were dark. Some had water. Each section held cubs from different species. Una saw creatures she had never seen before. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had too many legs. Some had wings. All of them were young, and all of them were watching her. She felt 500 pairs of eyes on her body. Some eyes glowed in the dark. Some blinked sideways. Some did not blink at all. Any normal person would run. Una walked to the center of the room and sat down on the cold floor. She opened her container and began to eat her rice. The cubs did not move. They watched. They waited. A huge creature approached from the hot section. It walked on 6 legs and had sharp quills covering its back. Its eyes were red. Its teeth were long. According to Yuna's briefing files, this was a Volcorian, one of the deadliest species in the galaxy. This one was young, maybe 8 years old in human terms, but already bigger than a horse. The Volcorian stopped a few meters away from Yuna. It made a low sound in its throat. A warning. Yuna looked up at it. She did not scream. She did not run. She did not even stand up. "Hello," she said simply. "Are you hungry?" She held out her container. There was still rice inside. The Volcorian stared at her. Its red eyes were filled with confusion. This was not how prey acted. This was not how caretakers acted. This human was doing something wrong. Long minutes passed. Yuna's arm got tired, but she kept holding out the food. Finally, the Volcorian made a different sound. Not a warning this time. Something else. Then it turned and walked away. It did not take the food. But it did not kill her either. Yuna lowered her arm and continued eating. Around her, 500 cubs watched in silence. They had never seen anything like this before. In the monitoring room far above, Imperial officials watched through cameras. One of them made a note in his report. The human does not follow protocol. She has not read the behavioral guidelines. She sat on the floor and offered food to Subject 7 Theta. This is not approved procedure. Another official shook his head. She will be dead by morning. But morning came, and Yuna was still alive. She woke up early and went back to the common area. The cubs were already awake. They watched her again as she walked to the same spot and sat down with her breakfast. This time, more cubs came closer. They formed a wide circle around her. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to see. A small creature with soft gray fur and big black eyes sat directly in front of Yuna. It was tiny compared to the others. Its file said it was a Mikari. Highly intelligent. Highly aggressive when threatened. This small cub did not look aggressive. It looked curious. "Good morning," Yuna said to it. "Did you sleep well?" The cub tilted its head. It did not understand her words, but it understood her tone. Soft, calm, warm. No one had ever spoken to it like that before. In the corner of the room, the big Volcorian watched. It had not slept all night. It had been thinking about the strange human who offered food to a predator. The human who showed no fear. The human who said hello like they were neighbors. The Volcorian did not trust her. Not yet. Trust was dangerous in this place. But for the first time in years, it felt something other than anger. It felt curious. And that was how it began. 3 months passed on the frozen moon of Kellis 7. The Imperial officials were confused. The human was still alive. More than that, she was changing things. Yuna had created something that never existed in Facility 9 before. A routine. Every day, she woke up at the same time. She went to the common area at the same time. She prepared food at the same time. The cubs began to expect her. They began to wait for her. At first, she only cooked for herself. But she noticed that some cubs would not eat the gray paste the facility provided. They were getting thin, getting weak. She started reading their files. Not the behavioral warnings that other caretakers read. The medical files. The biological files. She learned that Mikari cubs, like the small gray one, could not digest synthetic proteins. Their stomachs would hurt. They would get sick. But no one had thought to give them different food. Yuna went to the facility kitchen and started cooking real meals. The kitchen robot tried to stop her. This is not approved procedure. The nutrition paste meets all Imperial standards. The nutrition paste is making them sick, Yuna said. She pushed past the robot and started looking through storage. She found frozen vegetables, dried grains, things that had been sitting unused for years. That night, she brought real food to the Macari section. The small gray cub she had met on her first day was there, along with its companion. They were both thin, both tired. Yuna set down 2 bowls of cooked vegetables and grain. The cubs looked at the food. They looked at her. They did not move. "It is okay," Yuna said softly. "This will not hurt you. I promise." The small gray cub moved first. It sniffed the food. Then it took a tiny bite. Its big black eyes went wide. It had never tasted anything like this before. It began to eat faster. Its companion joined in. They finished both bowls in minutes. Yuna smiled. It was the first time she had smiled since arriving on KELIS-7. She began learning about each species. She discovered that the Thescan twins needed complete darkness to sleep. The facility kept all areas lit for security cameras. The twins had not slept properly in years. Yuna found old blankets in storage and built them a dark shelter. She learned that one cub, from a species with no official name, had not been touched by another living being in 4 years. Everyone thought his scales were poisonous. Yuna read his medical file 3 times. His scales were not poisonous. Someone had made a mistake years ago, and no one bothered to check again. The first time Yuna touched his arm, the cub froze completely. He stared at her hand on his scales. Then he made a sound she did not understand. Later, she learned it was crying. The Imperial monitors sent angry reports to their superiors. The human is not following protocol. She is cooking unauthorized meals. She is modifying sleeping areas. She broke into the restricted medical archives. She is teaching the cubs her native language. The language lessons started by accident. Yuna talked to herself while she worked. She said things in Korean without thinking. One day, the big Valkorian repeated a word she had said. "Lap," it said. Its voice was deep and rough, but the word was clear. Yuna turned around in surprise. "You said rice." The Valkorian tilted its massive head. "Lap," it said again. It pointed one clawed foot at her food container. After that, Yuna started teaching on purpose. She would point at things and say their names. Water, door, floor, food. The cubs listened. Some of them started repeating the words. The Valkyrian was the fastest learner. Within weeks, it could say dozens of words. It followed Yuna around the facility, watching everything she did. It still did not fully trust her, but it was interested in her. One day, an Imperial inspector arrived for a surprise evaluation. He walked into the common area and stopped in shock. Yuna was sitting in the center of the room. Around her, in neat rows, sat 500 of the most dangerous young creatures in the galaxy. They were all quiet. They were all focused. Yuna was pointing at pictures on a screen and saying words. The cubs were repeating after her. "What is the meaning of this?" The inspector demanded. Yuna looked up calmly. "Tuesday," she said. "We do vocabulary on Tuesdays." The Valkorian rose to its full height. It was huge now, taller than the inspector, covered in sharp quills. It looked down at the small Imperial official with red eyes. "Quiet," it said in rough but clear Korean. "Learning." The inspector's face went pale. He had been in the military for 30 years. He had faced enemy soldiers and space battles. But nothing had prepared him for a monster speaking human words and telling him to be quiet. He left within the hour. His report said the human had lost control of the facility. His superiors read the report and laughed. Lost control? The cubs were sitting in rows. They were learning vocabulary. No caretaker had ever achieved anything close to this. But the laughter stopped when they understood. What was really happening? The cubs were not becoming obedient to the Empire. They were becoming loyal to the human dot. This was not what the Empire wanted. They wanted weapons. They wanted tools they could control. They did not want 500 deadly creatures who listened to one small human woman. Yuna did not know about the reports. She did not know about the growing concern in Imperial High Command. She only knew that the cubs were getting healthier. They were sleeping better. They were eating better. Some of them were even starting to play. The small gray Makari cub would chase its companion around the common area. The Thescan twins would sing quiet songs in their dark shelter. The cub with scales would sit next to Yuna while she worked, just to feel her presence nearby. And the big Valkorian would walk beside her through the facility, learning new words every day. It asked her questions now. Simple questions. Why help? It asked one evening. Yuna thought about the question. Because you needed help, she said. Others not help. Others afraid. Others angry. I know. You not afraid? Yuna looked up at the massive creature beside her. Its red eyes glowed in the dim light. Its quills could cut through metal. It could kill her in 1 second if it wanted to. Sometimes I am afraid, she admitted. But fear should not stop kindness. The Valkorian was quiet for a long time. Then it said a new word. A word Yuna had not taught it. Mother. Yuna's heart squeezed tight. Where did you learn that word? Listened. Other species talk. Mother means... It struggled to find the right words. Means person who keeps you safe. Person who feeds you. Person who stays. It looked at her with those red eyes. You mother? Yuna felt tears forming. She blinked them away. I am just a caretaker, she said softly. The Valkorian shook its great head. No, caretakers leave. Caretakers die. You stay. You different. It lowered its head until its face was level with hers. You mother. Yuna reached out and touched its rough face. The Valkyrian closed its eyes. No one had ever touched it gently before. Far above, in the monitoring room, an Imperial official watched through the cameras. He did not write a report this time. He just stared at the screen with growing unease. The human had done something impossible. She had made monsters love her dot, and the Empire did not know what to do about it. In the Galactic Empire, weapons did not have names. They had numbers. Codes, designations. A weapon did not need to be called anything special. It only needed to work. Why Yuna learned this truth slowly, through small moments that broke her heart. One evening, she was updating her records on a tablet. She needed to write a note about the big Valkorian who followed her everywhere. She looked at his file and saw only a number. Subject 7 Theta. Is that your name? She asked him. 7 Theta? The Valkorian looked at her with confusion. That is what they call me. All creatures have designation. No, Yuna said quietly. That is not a name. That is a number. She started asking the other cubs. What do they call you? The answers were all the same. S at 445. Containment priority Alpha 12. Subject 892B. Dangerous material. 7. 500 children. Not one name among them. Why Yuna could not sleep that night. She lay in her small bed and stared at the ceiling. She thought about her own name. Yuna. Her mother had chosen it because it meant grace. Every time someone said her name, they were saying something beautiful. These children had never experienced that. They had never heard someone call them anything except a number. They had never known that they could be more than weapons. The next morning, Yuna gathered the cubs who trusted her most. The big Valkorian, the 2 small Makari, the Thescan twins, the cub with scales, about 20 others who had started staying close to her. I want to ask you something, she said. I want to know what you would like to be called. Not your numbers. A real name. The cubs looked at each other. They did not understand. What is a real name? One of the Makari asked. She had learned to speak Korean fastest among her species. Yuna thought about how to explain. A real name is a word that belongs only to you. It says something about who you are, or who you want to become. It is a gift that someone gives you because they care about you. The cubs were silent. This was a strange idea. A gift? Someone caring? The Thescan twins spoke together, their voices making harmony. We remember sounds from before, from our homeworld, but we do not know what they mean. Can you make those sounds for me? Yuna asked. The twins sang 2 short notes, one high, one low. They were beautiful sounds, like bells ringing. Yuna smiled. Those sounds are close to words in my language. Hana and Miru. Hana means one, the beginning of things. Miru means to see, to understand. Would you like those to be your names? The twins looked at each other. Then they looked at Yuna. Those names are ours? Only ours? Only yours, forever. The twin with the higher voice touched her own chest. Hana, she whispered. The other twin did the same. Miru, they began to cry. Their tears were silver, like starlight. Word spread through the facility. The human was giving names. Real names. Names that meant something. Cubs who had been hiding for months came forward. Cubs who had attacked every other caretaker approached Yuna with careful steps. They all wanted the same thing. Please, they would say. Give me a name too. Yuna spent hours learning about each cub. She asked about their memories, their dreams, the things they liked, the things they feared. She wanted each name to be perfect. The cub with scales, the one who had not been touched in 4 years, told her that he dreamed about light. He had lived in darkness for so long that he had forgotten what sunshine felt like. But he still dreamed about it. Yuna named him Juno, after the month when summer began on Earth, the month with the longest days and the most. Sunlight. Juno repeated his name 100 times. He would not stop saying it. Juno, I am Juno. My name is Juno. The 2 Makari cubs were harder. They were still learning to speak. But Yuna watched them play together. She saw how they took care of each other, how they shared food, how they slept curled together for warmth. She named the gray one Bora, which meant purple, like the color of twilight. She named the other one Duri, which meant 2, because they were never apart. Bora and Duri practiced saying each other's names for days. Dora! Bora! They would run around the common area, calling to each other, laughing in their strange Makari way. Then came the Valkyrian. He approached Yuna one evening, after all the other cubs had gone to sleep. He sat down in front of her and waited. His red eyes were serious. You gave names to others, he said. You did not give name to me. Yuna looked at him. He had been the first to approach her, the first to not kill her. In some ways, he was the reason she was still alive. I have been thinking about your name for a long time, she said. I wanted it to be right. What name did you choose? Yuna reached out and touched his rough face. He closed his eyes, leaning into her hand. Taro, she said. It means big boy. First son. Someone strong and important. The Valkyrian opened his eyes. Taro, he repeated. His deep voice made the words sound powerful. I am Taro. You are Taro. He made a sound in his chest. It was not a warning. It was something else. Something soft. Taro has mother now. Mother has son. Yuna's eyes filled with tears. Yes, I suppose we do. The naming ceremony, as the cubs started calling it, continued for weeks. Yuna gave names to all 500 of them. Some names were Korean. Some were invented. Some were chosen by the cubs themselves after they understood what names meant. One cub chose the name Suho. Yuna told him it meant guardian, protector. He'd been the son of a warlord who fought against the Empire. His father was killed when Suho was only 3 years old. For 11 years, Imperial guards told him that he was born violent, that his father's blood made him dangerous, that he would never be anything but a weapon. When Suho heard what his name meant, he cried for 3 hours. Then he dried his tears and made a promise to himself. He would become what his name said. He would protect others. He would be more than what the Empire made him. There was also Yoon, a crystalline who communicated through light patterns instead of sounds. The Empire had classified her as non-sentient for 5 years because they could not understand her. Yuna built her a translation device from broken machinery she found in storage. It was not perfect, but it worked. The first words Yoon ever said through the device were, "I am here. I am real. Can you hear me now?" Yuna named her Yoon, which meant kindness, because she had remained gentle despite everything. The Imperial AI sent another classified report to High Command. The message was simple and alarming. The human has compromised the assets. The cubs are forming attachments. They are developing loyalty, but not to the Empire, only to her. Recommend immediate intervention. High Command read the report and made a decision. The human had become too dangerous. The cubs were weapons, and weapons needed to obey their masters. This woman was teaching them something else. She was teaching them that they mattered, that they deserved names and kindness and love. This could not be allowed. An order was prepared. It would arrive at Facility 9 in 3 days. The human called Yuna Park would be removed permanently, but Yuna did not know this. She only knew that 500 children finally had names, that they were learning to smile, that they were starting to heal. She thought she was winning. She did not know that the real fight was about to begin. The order arrived on a cold morning. Yuna was in the kitchen, preparing breakfast for the cubs, when the facility eye spoke through the ceiling. "Caretaker 848, you have received a priority message from Imperial High Command. Please report to the communication center immediately." Yuna wiped her hands and walked to the communication center. A hologram appeared before her. It showed the official seal of the Empire. "Yuna Park of Earth," the recorded message said. "You are hereby terminated from your position at Facility 9. You are charged with unauthorized psychological manipulation of Imperial assets. You have 12 hours to transfer your duties and report to Detention Vessel Coral 7. Failure to comply will result in immediate execution. This order is final." The hologram disappeared. Yuna stood very still. Her hands were shaking. She knew this might happen someday. She had broken too many rules. She had cared too much. But she thought she would have more time. 12 hours. That was all she had left. She walked back to the kitchen slowly. Her mind was racing. She could not let the cubs see her afraid. They had finally learned to trust. If they saw her panic, it would destroy everything. She finished making breakfast. She served it to the cubs like normal. She smiled and said good morning like normal. But inside she was breaking. That night, after the cubs went to sleep, Yuna sat in her small room and wrote letters. 500 letters. One for each child. She wrote their names at the top of each page. She told them she was proud of them. She told them to be brave. She told them that being loved once meant they could be loved again. She cried while she wrote. But she did not stop. When she finished, it was nearly dawn. She packed her small bag with the few things she owned. She looked around her room one last time. Then she walked toward the exit. She did not make it to the door. Taro was waiting in the corridor. His huge body blocked the entire hallway. Behind him stood Bora, Duri, Suho, An, and dozens of others. Behind them, more cubs appeared. And more. until all 500 of them had gathered. Yuna stopped walking. "What are you doing? You should be sleeping." "We know," Taro said. His Korean was very good now, clear and strong. "The walls talk. We listen. We heard the message. We heard the order. Then you know I have to go. If I do not leave, they will hurt you." Suho stepped forward. He was tall now, almost grown, with powerful arms and sharp claws. But his eyes were soft. "They already heard us. Before you came. Always before. That is why I must go. To protect you." Dory made a small sound. Her wing, broken years ago by a cruel handler, hung at a wrong angle. "You cannot protect us by leaving. You protect us by staying. The Empire will send soldiers. They will send ships. They could destroy this entire moon. Then let them try," Taro said. His voice was calm, but underneath it was something dangerous. Something strong. Yuna looked at him. At all of them. These children she had fed and taught and named. These monsters the galaxy feared. "I will not let you die for me," she whispered. Hana and Miru stepped forward together. Their voices harmonized when they spoke. "You asked us once what we wanted to be when we grew up. We did not understand. No one thought we would grow up." Suho continued. "You gave us names. You taught us words. You showed us what family means." He extended one massive clawed hand. Carefully, gently, he placed it on Yuna's shoulder. "I want to be someone who protects their family. You taught me that. You taught all of us." Owen's translation device flickered with light patterns that became words. "We were nothing before you. Numbers and designations. Weapons and tools. You made us people. We will not let them take you away." Yuna felt tears running down her face. "You do not understand. I am just one human. I am weak. I cannot fight the Empire." Taro lowered his great head until his eyes were level with hers. His red gaze was fierce but kind. "You are not weak. You walked into a room full of predators and sat down. You offered food to creatures who could kill you. You touched children no one else would touch. You gave names to the nameless." He paused. "That is not weakness. That is the strongest thing we have ever seen." He straightened to his full height. He was massive now. Terrifying. Beautiful. "She stays," he announced to the facility. His voice echoed through every corridor. "Or this place does not." 20 minutes later, Imperial guards arrived. They came with weapons and armor and confidence. They had orders. They were professionals. They had done this many times before. They walked into the common area and stopped. 500 deadly cubs surrounded. One small human woman. They were not attacking. They were not running. They were simply standing together, watching, waiting. The lead guard stepped forward. "By order of the Empire, the human Yuna Park must come with us. Move aside. No one moved. This is your final warning. Comply or face consequences." Taro spoke. His voice filled the room. "We know about consequences. We have lived in this place for years. We know pain and hunger and loneliness. We know what the Empire does to those who disobey." He stepped forward. The guards stepped back. "But we also know something new. We know that someone can care about us. Someone can give us names and food and kindness. Someone can treat us like children instead of weapons." He spread his quills. They glinted in the light like 1,000 knives. "We will not lose that. We will not let you take her. If you want her, you must go through us. All of us." The lead guard looked at his soldiers. He looked at the cubs. He did some math in his head. His team had 12 soldiers. The cubs numbered 500. Each cub was deadlier than any soldier. He opened his communication channel. "Command, we have a situation." The assets are refusing to comply. They are protecting the human. Requesting backup. The response came quickly. Hold your position. Reinforcements incoming. The standoff began. Hours passed. More soldiers arrived. Then more. Then ships appeared in the sky above the facility. Then larger ships. The Empire was taking this seriously, but the cubs did not move. They stood around Yuna like a living shield. They took turns sleeping and eating, always keeping her protected. They talked to each other in the languages Yuna had taught them. They made plans. They prepared. Yuna tried to reason with them. She tried to sneak away. She tried everything she could think of to make them let her go. They refused. You taught us what family means, Bora said. Did you think we would not learn? Family protects each other, Duri added. You protected us. Now we protect you. Imperial commanders sent threats through the facility speakers. Surrender the human. Release the human. Give up the human. The answer was always the same. No. Outside, the Imperial fleet grew larger. Inside, 500 cubs held their ground. And somewhere in the middle, one human woman sat surrounded by the children she had saved, wondering if she had made a terrible mistake. But when she looked at their faces, she knew the truth. These were not mistakes. These were not weapons. These were her children, and they were not going to let her go. The standoff lasted 6 days. On the first day, the Empire threatened to send soldiers. The cubs did not move. On the second day, the Empire cut off food and water. Yuna showed the cubs where emergency supplies were hidden. On the third day, the Empire threatened orbital bombardment. Taro looked at the sky through the window. Massive warships floated above the moon, their weapons pointed at the facility. They will destroy everything, Yuna said. Please, let me go. Taro shook his head. They will not destroy us. We are too valuable. We are weapons they spent years creating. They will not throw away their investment. He was right. The Empire did not fire. On the fourth day, something unexpected happened. The story leaked. No one knew who did it. Perhaps a soldier with doubts. Perhaps an official with a conscience. Perhaps the facility eye itself, which had been watching Yuna for months. But suddenly, the whole galaxy knew. Images spread across every network. A small human woman. 500 deadly monsters. Standing together. Protecting each other. The Empire's most dangerous assets, refusing to fight, refusing to kill, choosing love instead. The images came with a simple message. The cubs have chosen their mother. The galaxy watched. And the galaxy asked questions. For years, the Empire had told stories about these cubs. They were monsters. They were uncontrollable. They were too dangerous to live free. They had to be locked away, trained as weapons, kept in cages. But the images showed something different. They showed cubs sitting in neat rows, learning vocabulary. They showed Taro gently touching Yuna's face. They showed Bora and Duri playing together. They showed Suho standing guard over the woman who gave him his name. These were not monsters. These were children. On dozens of worlds, people began asking new questions. What else had the Empire lied about? Who else was being held in facilities like this one? How many other children had been called weapons? Small protests began, then larger ones, then rebellions. Not because of politics, not because of ideology, because of one simple image, a human and her children standing against an empire. On the fifth day, Imperial High Command held an emergency meeting. The situation was out of control. Every hour, more worlds were questioning Imperial authority. The story of the human mother and her deadly cubs had become a symbol. Some commanders wanted to attack anyway. Destroy the facility. Kill them all. Say it was an accident. Others disagreed. The galaxy is watching. If we kill them now, We prove that everything they say about us is true. The argument lasted hours. In the end, politics won. On the sixth day, the Empire announced a new policy. Una Park was granted asylum under the Protection of Galactic Heritage Act, a law created specifically for this situation. The Cubs were reclassified from assets to wards of the state. They were still not free, but they were no longer property. That it was not victory. It was not justice. It was a compromise made by frightened politicians, but it was enough. For now, Una received the news in the common area, surrounded by her children. She read the official message 3 times before she believed it. "They are letting us stay," she said quietly. "They are letting us stay together." The Cubs did not cheer. They did not celebrate. They had learned not to trust the Empire's promises, but they allowed themselves to hope. Taro pressed his great head against Una's shoulder. "This is not the end," he said. "They will try again. They always try again." "I know," Una said, "but we have time now. Time to prepare. Time to grow stronger." She looked around at her children. 500 faces looked back at her. Some were covered in scales. Some were covered in fur. Some glowed in the dark. All of them were hers. "We will be ready," she promised. 5 years passed. The facility on Kala 7 was gone. In its place stood something new. Not a prison. Not a weapon factory. A school. Yuna called it the Academy of New Beginnings. The Empire refused to recognize it officially. But that did not matter. Students came anyway, not just the original 500. Others found their way there. Cubs and children from other facilities. Young people who had been called monsters and weapons and dangers. They heard the story of the human mother and came looking for hope. Yuna taught some classes herself. Language, history, basic science. But she was not alone anymore. Taro had grown into something magnificent. He was massive now, bigger than any Valkorian in recorded history. His quills could cut through starship armor. His strength was legendary. But he spent most of his time teaching young cubs how to control their instincts. How to be strong without being violent. How to protect without destroying. Yuna had become a scientist. The translation device Una built for her was now the basis for a universal communication system. For the first time, species that could not speak to each other found ways to connect. Una gave interviews and wrote papers and proved that intelligence comes in many forms. Suho ran a quiet network that helped other assets escape Imperial facilities. It was dangerous work, illegal work, but he remembered what his name meant. Guardian, protector. He would not stop until every child was free. Bora and Duri became healers. They specialized in species the Empire considered too dangerous to treat. They opened a clinic on a distant moon where anyone could come for help. They never turned anyone away. Hana and Miru traveled between worlds, singing songs and telling stories. Their voices could harmonize in ways no other species could match. They sang about a human mother who saw children where others saw monsters. Their songs spread hope to places where hope had died. And once every year, on the anniversary of the standoff, all 500 of the original Cubs returned to wherever Una was. They came from every corner of the galaxy, from ships and governments and shadows. They gathered together like a family returning home. The Empire still classified them as the galaxy's deadliest beings. That had not changed. Perhaps it would never change, but something else had changed. Something important. These deadly beings had learned that strength was not the same as violence. That power was not the same as cruelty. That the strongest thing in the universe was not a weapon. The strongest thing in the universe was love. Una was getting older now. Her hair had turned gray. Her hands were not as steady as they once were, but her eyes were still kind. Her voice was still warm. On the 5th anniversary of the standoff, she stood before her children and spoke. When I came to Cala 7, I was afraid. I thought I would die. I thought I would fail. I thought I was too weak to make any difference. She looked at their faces. Cubs who had become adults. Monsters who had become healers and teachers and protectors. I was wrong. Not because I was strong, but because you were. You chose to trust me when you had every reason not to. You chose to love when you had only known pain. You chose to protect when you had only been taught to destroy. Tears ran down her face. But she was smiling. The galaxy calls you the deadliest beings in existence. They are not wrong, but they do not understand what that means. You are deadly because you have finally found something worth protecting. And there is nothing more dangerous than that. Taro stepped forward. He was ancient by Valkorian standards now, but still strong, still fierce, still gentle. Mother, he said. The word carried all the weight of 6 years of love. He lowered his great head. Yuna touched his face, just like she had done on that first night so long ago. My son, she whispered around them. 500 voices joined together. Some spoke Korean. Some spoke other languages. Some made sounds that humans could not hear. But they all said the same thing. Mother. Far away, in the grand halls of the Imperial Palace. Officials read reports about the gathering on Cala 7. They saw the images of deadly predators bowing their heads to a small human woman. They saw the love in their eyes, and they were afraid. Not because the cubs might attack. Not because the cubs might rebel. But because the cubs had proven something that the Empire could never accept. Even monsters could love. Even weapons could choose peace. Even the deadliest beings in the galaxy could become gentle if someone showed them how. The Empire was built on the idea that strength came from fear. That power came from control. That the weak must always obey the strong. Yuna and her children had proven that idea wrong. And the Empire did not know what to do about it. But Yuna knew. Her children knew. The galaxy was beginning to know the old ways were ending. Something new was beginning. And it all started with one small human who sat down in a room full of monsters and offered them rice. In the end, the Empire fell. Not to warriors or weapons, but to a single impossible idea that even monsters deserve to be loved. And once they believed it, they became something far more dangerous than monsters. They became family.